Want help to grow your business? Download Bryn, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit bryn.ai or search the App Store today.
Hi everybody, I'm Keith Abraham and welcome to Passionate People. I want to spend some time and talk to you about the 6 emotional mindsets that relate to achievements and make sure that you understand how they relate to your life and how you can take yourself to the next level. You know, most of us never spend enough time on what I call Project You. The opportunity to stop and spend some time and think about what's important, what matters, and what makes a difference to you. Let me ask you this question. When was the last time you had an opportunity to stop and think about what's important, what matters, and what makes a difference to you? If you're like most people, rarely do we ever. We get up, we go to work, we serve our customers, handle the challenges, look after the chaos, go home, have an alcohol injection, and do it all over again the next day. And rarely do we ever stop and think about what's important, what matters, and what makes a difference to not only us, but the people who mean the world to us. So in this episode, we're going to talk about those mindsets you need to have so you can put yourself at the front of the line. And what I mean by that is that for most of us, we put everybody else at the front of the line, whether it be our customers, our family, our friends, and if there's anything left over, we give that to ourselves. And by the way, rarely is there anything left over. We just tend to go day, by week, by month, without ever really stopping and thinking about what's important, what matters, and what makes a difference. So in this episode, we're going to cover a few key points. We're going to talk about the biggest factors that cause people to become lost in their lives. And very shortly, I'll talk to you about what lost really means. The other thing we'll spend some time about is talk about what do you do when you're frustrated because you're not making progress. I don't know about you personally, but for me, I become the most frustrated when I don't feel like I'm moving forward. And so we're going to talk about how do you get over that. The third is we're going to talk about the 3 key components to create greater certainty in your life. I don't know about you personally, but I want greater certainty in what I do. I want to know where I'm going. I want to know why I'm going there. And I want to know how I'm going to get there. The fourth is we'll talk about the 4 parts to creating a passionate person and living a passionate life. I don't know about you. I don't want to live ordinary. I want to live a passionate life. I want to do the things that energize, enthuse, and engage me. The fifth is that we'll spend some time and talk about how do you fall back in love with your life, your business, your career, and your purpose. You see, for most people, we fall out of love. And the easiest piece of advice that most people would give is to go and do something different. I'm a little bit different. I just think we need to fall back in love with it. The sixth is that we'll spend some time and talk about why sometimes all you need to do is focus on what counts. What's the easiest thing to do? Set a goal. What's the hardest thing to do? Remain focused on it. And with all the distractions of social media, of all these different platforms that we're connected to on a daily basis, we're going to talk about how you focus on what really counts for you. The seventh is we'll talk about why momentum is more important than being motivated. People often describe me as a motivational speaker, and I cringe at that, to be perfectly honest, because I don't think you need to be motivated. I think you need to create momentum. Motivation's got to come from within. I think of motivational workshops and seminars are a bit like a hot shower. They feel great when you're in them, but you get cold as soon as you get out of them. So we'll spend some time and talk about how you create momentum in your life to move yourself towards what you want and move away from the things that you don't want. So let's jump into it. My belief is that you have to lead yourself first. So often I'm asked to work with organisations around the globe about taking their people and their business to the next level. And the one premise where we start at right first is we talk a little bit about leading yourself. How do you lead other people? How do you lead your business? How do you lead your customers if you're not leading yourself first? It has to start with you. You have to become a passionate leader of your life and the people who mean the world to you. So how do you do that? Well, from my research over the last 20 years of being a professional presenter, the last 30 years of studying the goal setting process, here's what we know, is that throughout the world, people fit into four key areas. 3% of people make things happen. 10% of people think or expect things to happen. 60% of people just watch things happen. Wow, look at those people achieving. They're at the same conference I was at. And 27% of people don't know what happened. Do you know people like that have got no idea? So we're going to talk about how you become in the top 3% of people in the world. And I don't mean the leader of the leaders, I mean leading yourself. We're going to spend some time and talk about this passionate people process. Now you got to understand this program is about, for the last 7 years, I've been running a program called Passionate People. About 8,000 people globally have gone through this one-day workshop, and it's been a really interesting process. When we go to large organisations like Toyota and Lexus and Sandvik out of Sweden and AIA throughout Asia, we talk to them about how they engage their people. And the premise of this particular program is it has nothing to do with their business. It has everything to do with the individual. Once again, my belief is you have to lead yourself first. Once you lead yourself, then you can lead others. And so we've worked in this workshop, and it's really interesting because we've had people from HR specialists to corporate CEOs to people in call centres to sales professionals in Flight Centre go through this program. And what's really interesting is they're quite taken back that when they do this whole one-day workshop, there's nothing to do, apart from the logo on the workbook, there's nothing to do with their organisation they work for. In actual fact, I was in working for an organisation called Sandvik, and Sandvik make large mining equipment. And these guys that came to this particular program were all mine managers. So they're men's men. And it's really interesting because during the course of this workshop and these episodes you're going to watch, is that we talk about doing the things that you love to do, doing the things that are important to you, what makes your heart sing. And so these guys walked into this workshop and it was almost like they were kicking the imaginary can, not really wanting to be there. And when I went and introduced myself, they said, "Oh, Keith, what's this?" And I can't actually use the language in mixed company, but you get the feeling. They said, "What's this all about?" I explained to them a little bit of the program. They said, "Oh, you know, Keith, we come to a workshop like this that management put on, the people from Puzzle Palace, every quarter. And you know, Keith, to be perfectly honest, it's really just, they do it just to annoy us." And I said, "You know what, fellas, I get where you're coming from." I said, "Let me ask you this. If you give me 30 minutes of your time, at the end of 30 minutes, if you think it's still all BS and bubble gum, then you can leave. And there's no hard feelings, we haven't taken your name down, there's no repercussions. But at the end of 30 minutes, if you think this is great and you think it's of value, then stay for the whole day." Well, we do this activity and they honoured their half and I honoured my half, and at the end of the 30 minutes I do this stand-up activity and people get a chance to walk around and, if they want, stage left out the side door. Well, at the end of 30 minutes we got everyone to sit back down and everyone stayed. And they had a great day and we talked about what they wanted to do and what was most important to them. And what was really interesting is that 3 months later I got a chance to catch up with those group of guys again, and they were from all over the world, and they brought them back together for one of those quarterly get-togethers. And when I said to them, "Look, I don't have any content to present, but I'd love to know what's happened in the last 30, 90, 60, 90 days. One guy puts up his hand, he said, "You know, Keith," he said, "I've actually got a list of all of my goals on a Gantt chart, and I've colour-coded the 100 goals I want to achieve in my lifetime. And I've got progress on how much I've made over the last 90 days. Engineer by trade, of course. The second guy said, "You know, Keith, I haven't read a book since I left school." He said, I read your book from cover to cover. My wife's reading it at the moment. And for the first time, my wife and I are having a conversation about what we really want to do when we grow up." And the third guy, a guy called Scotty, he said to me, "You know, Keith, I'm on my third marriage." He said, "I went away from the program," and he said, "For the first time," he said, "I actually thought it was, for all those marriages that have, fallen apart," he said, "I actually thought it was their fault." I said, "Scotty, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news." He said, "But you're the common denominator, mate." He said, I get that now. He said, for the last 90 days, I've been going back and saying sorry to people. I've been telling them that, that I apologise for the wrong I've done. Now, you've got to understand, at no stage during the course of this workshop and these episodes do I ask people to do that. People get something different out of it. I don't know what you'll get out of watching this episode and the other episodes in this series, but I will guarantee you that if you're...
To continue enjoying this presentation, download Bryn, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit bryn.ai or search the App Store today.